YouTube, and welcome to my first deck building upload. I'm talking about basically a red deck that you can run in standard that is based on the combo of Cunning Spark Mage and Basilisk Scholar that was played in a recent Naya deck, very strong deck, because they run Stoneforge Mystic to search out the collar, and Cunning Spark Mage is strictly better Prodigal's Pyromancer, the red version of Tim, the Prodigal Sorcerer. Anyway, the red suite you can run is Cunning Spark Mage, 2 and red. It's got haste, taps to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Prodigal Pyromancer, it's the same as the Cunning Spark Mage, but it's a 1-1 instead of a 0-1. Doesn't have haste. The Vithian Stinger, basically the same. It's a 0-1, but its uniqueness is that it unearths for 1 in red. Goblin Artillery can be played in the deck for 1 and 2 red. The taps to do 2 damage to something and 3 damage to yourself. The 3 damage to yourself can be worth it to be able to kill creatures with toughness greater than 1 without using it alongside another creature or having it have Deathtouch. Red can also run Lightning Bolts, there's no reason not to. Volcanic, Fallout, and Pyroclasm can be good because they can clear the board. Fallout isn't counterable, it's instant. And you can also run Chain Reaction, or as I like to call it, Red Wrath of God. And the reason I wouldn't place the board clearing spells is because it would kill your creatures too, though it can be worth it sometimes. Chain Reaction and Volcanic Fallout, Pyroclasm can kill things with Shroud, which is a big weakness to the deck. You can't target the creature, you can't kill it with your cheap trick. Now, you can run Basilisk Collar, Gorgon Flare, and Kaitis Spike in standard currently. All of them, Basilisk Collar costs 1, Gorgon's Flail costs 2, and Kaitis Spike costs 3. The Collar and the Flail cost 2 to equip, the Spike costs 3. But it can make your creatures a bigger threat, especially the Prodigal Pyromancer, because it's already got power. With the Kaitis Spike, they have to block it or their life total will get cut in half if he deals damage to them that way. Also, you can do tricks where you block with the Deathtouch or tap to deal damage to a creature and trade 1 for 2, keeping your equipment on the board. Now, the easiest way around the Shroud problem is either mass removal, like Chain Reaction, or sacrificing creatures. You can play Gatekeeper of Malakir like many black decks play, but I think Fleshbag Marauder is a better card in this deck because you'd be playing multiple colors, it's easier to cast, you might tap to kill something, and leaving only their shrouding creature left. Then play the Fleshbag Marauder, forcing you both to sack something. Sometimes the best play would be to sacrifice the tap to kill something creature, so that you could equip the Deathtouch lifelink +1/+1, or if it deals damage, half their life total equipment to the 3/1, which could be a better threat. Gatekeeper of Malakir is better in that only they sacrifice the creature. He's only a 2/2 instead of a 3/1, which in an aggressive deck like this isn't as good. But he does cost 3 black mana, which can be difficult to get in standard currently. To activate his ability, the only reason you'd play him is to make them sacrifice a shrouding creature. Now these can be sideboard cards, so there's no particular reason not to play both of them. If you're playing black, the way I build the deck anyway, you can use Lightnings and Terminates, along with Blood Cultist, who can only target creatures as the downside, but it acts as a Timmy, and every time she kills something, or anything she deals damage to dies for whatever reason. It could be a Lightning Bolt or a Terminate, but she gets a +1/+1 counter, so she can become a threat on her own. It's very similar to Vein Drinker, which you could play in the deck, but I don't recommend because keeping the curve down makes the deck viable anyway. Now, because you're playing red and black already, another way to make them sacrifice a creature would maybe to be play blue, which gives you Dawnray Archer, that taps to deal damage to an attacking or blocking creature, has Exalted, so your other creatures or itself could become a better threat on the aggressive attack, But Cruel Ultimatum can force them to sacrifice creatures and gives you considerable card advantage, gives you life gain for late game to bounce back if it's close. Blue also gives you a suite of spells for control. Ponder, Essence Scatter, Negate, Dispel, and Spell Pierce are playable. Cancel is somewhat playable, but there's too many 3-drops in the deck that you need. You wouldn't want to hold back for a cancel. And the double blue would be difficult in red, black, and blue, which is the only time it would be worth playing anyway. Now, splashing red instead of black gives you a different way to build the deck. For example, Day of Judgment as the board wipes instead of the burn, which can be inconsistent against larger creature decks. Path to Exile for spot removal instead of Terminates. Oblivion Ring and Journey to Nowhere give you more spot creature removal, enchantment removal, which the deck is lacking in. Or Planeswalker removal other than burn. It gives you Stun Sniper instead of Blood Cultist or Dawnray Archer, which lets you tap their creatures and control even better between Deathtouch artifacts or the ability to equip it for 2 mana. If you only have 1 available, you can still use the Stun Sniper to control a creature, at least for a turn. Then there's the Stoneforge Mystic that I mentioned earlier to tutor out Basilisk Collar, Gorgon Slayer, Ketis Spike. Now, another possible card or color to splash for would be green, and everybody knows Jund is a viable deck in this format. Red, black, and green gives you all the black cards I mentioned previously, but addition, Jund Sojourners could be good in this deck. You could equip it with Deathtouch, trade it for a creature, and as it leaves play, the last known instance was the creature had Deathtouch, so when it deals damage to a creature, it would be destroyed from Deathtouch. Also, you could cycle it, dealing 1 damage to something, which could make or break a game. You have Sarkhan Vul, which would allow all of your Tims to have haste, like a Cunning Spark Mage would, making Prodigal Pyromancer better than Cunning Spark Mage, and Vithian Stinger superior to both of them. Also, his ability to take control of, you could take control of their creatures, swing for lots, or you can take control of one of your own creatures, simply to untap it and use it again that turn. And it gives it haste, of course. It also gives you Nature's Claim and Naturalize to take care of enchantments and artifacts. And mono red, you do have Shatter currently to get rid of artifacts, or Demolish, I suppose, which also lets you hit lands, which is good against multicolor decks with lots of come into play tapped lands, the man lands it destroys, among other things. I also forgot to mention to deal with Planeswalkers. If you go just red-black, you've got Vampire Hexmage, and First Strike on Deathtouch is amazing anyway, or Deathtouch on First Strike, whatever. If you go the Jund build, Maelstrom Pulse is always a good choice, a very versatile card. If you splash white for the white control suite and the Stun Sniper, you've got Oblivion Ring, which also very versatile, 3 mana. And against if you go with blue for Cruel Ultimatum, or if you go the patriotic colors, red, white, and blue, you've got Negate to counter non-creature spell. I mentioned that earlier, along with Oblivion Ring, but specifically against Planeswalkers, these cards are good.